Doma Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Well, best boxer in the world news. You right? Best boxer in the world news. That's Terrence Bud Crawford. And it really is not close, but you know, you got kind of 1B because Alexander Usyk is 1B to me. All right, and then there's a little distance between 3 through 5. But all 5 of the top 5 pound-for-pound boxers are really, really phenomenal. Let's be real. So we're not trying to start nothing there. But Terrence Crawford has to be the best. You know, this guy has a lot of distance in all his fights. There's a lot of distance there. Now, I told you guys, when people come out and say that Terrence Crawford is going to beat Canelo and come out and say things like that, or even I just did a video of the 2 people that said that he's not going to beat Canelo and that he doesn't have a chance against Canelo, and that's Ryan Garcia and Joel Diaz. Those are the only 2. Other than that, like Robert Guerrero, who's a Mexican guy, the one who's infamous fighting, give Floyd Mayweather a decent fight. You know, Robert Guerrero, you gotta like him. He's come forward, southpaw, does handle his business, and he's a very cool guy. I like the guy. And I also say this is, you know, it's good to see this Mexican guy who's just objective and, you know, lets me know that there's good in the world. You know, Robert Garcia seems to be a good guy. Robert Guerrero seems to be a real good guy. So his point when asked with Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, he's like, it's a pick 'em fight. And that's also a feather in Crawford's hat. You know, he's like, you know, he's going to be able to come up. You know, the only thing he has concerns about is how is he going to gain that weight. But in terms of his skill and stuff, he thinks Crawford can do this. And I'm just letting you guys know that just because I think it's ridiculously phenomenal that people are calling it pick 'em fight, 50-50 fight. I think, you know, really a lot of people I think Crawford can beat Canelo Alvarez. And you guys are going to have to pick. What does this mean to you? Does this mean that Crawford is all that in a bag of chips or Canelo isn't? Right? Because the point is, Canelo, for many, is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Canelo, to many, is always a perennial top 5 pound-for-pound guy. Now, if he's naturally bigger, this big, 168 pounds, steady, fullback type of a body, there should not be a groundswell of support for Terrence. Well, support is the wrong word. But the people who think that Crawford can beat this guy, you wouldn't be saying this about anybody else that's coming from 147 pounds to go up to 168. There is nobody. You probably wouldn't even be saying this about Boots Ennis. You understand? Boots Ennis is the only one that I can think of nowadays. Anybody else, you wouldn't be thinking this. This is what Terrence Crawford is. And his point is that Terrence Crawford, he said this, it's a pick 'em fight. Other thing he said is Terrence Crawford made even Sean Porter, not Sean Porter, but your boy Errol Spence look like an amateur. And we know all what Errol Spence was. Errol Spence was top 3 pound-for-pound at the time. People after the fight, well, he had an accident and this and that. Yeah, that same guy that had an accident beat Danny Garcia. And somebody else that was supposed to be pretty good. You know what I'm saying? So he was doing well after you know, these accidents, right? And it doesn't matter. Whoever Terrence Crawford fought, he hasn't been in a close fight. So whoever he fought, he made look pedestrian. Since I accidentally said Sean Porter. Sean Porter, we know, is a middleweight, right? You know, melting himself down to a very formidable 147 pounder. Come forward guy, athletic guy, right? Well, we know that he wasn't really even the mandatory, but people at the time, which they lie afterwards, but you guys can go look at videos from some of the biggest uploaders. Hey, why don't you make Sean Porter the mandatory? Why he don't want to fight Sean Porter, right? Even though they was complaining about side of the streets fights, right? He can't fight people on side of the streets, the ones like Errol Spence at the time, right? You can't fight him, but you can fight Sean Porter, who's on the same side of the streets as Errol Spence, but they wanted Sean Porter to become his mandatory. Bad. Why? Because Terrence Crawford said he doesn't want to fight Sean Porter because it's his homeboy. They like each other really a lot, right? But they wanted to do this anyway, forced it. So he had to fight his homeboy. Terrence Crawford took it easy in that fight against Sean Porter. He was just trying to do enough to just barely beat him and not hurt the guy. I'm just going to say this like it is. And everybody knows it, but no one is going to say it. That's what he really did. He was told, and it's infamous now, at the beginning of round 10, hey, man, you could be behind. And he's like, what? I could be behind? You sure? Yeah, you could be behind. You know, you better have to do something these last 3 rounds. And he goes out there in that, after being told that, seconds later, drops Sean Porter and stops Sean Porter after being told that. You know what I'm saying? Ridiculously phenomenal things. Right? And everybody else, when he moved up as a small 140 pounder to 147, beating Jeff Horn, who was a middleweight, who had just beat Manny Pacquiao. Jose Benavidez, who's a middleweight. Right? You know, we know what time it is. Kell Brook, who's a middleweight. Kavalikas, right? Kavaliauskas is what his real name is, who I would say was a junior middleweight, right? Khan, junior middleweight, right? Errol Spence, middleweight. Sean Porter, middleweight. All of them being stopped, right? You see what I'm saying? So, and all before that, Victor Postal was undefeated. Ndungo was undefeated. He made them look pedestrian. And people like, Ndungo, he wasn't nothing in the first place. Tell that to Troy Anowski and your boy, Mr. Burns, Ricky Burns. Tell that to them because they just had gotten beat by Ndungo. So what he's done is ridiculous in the game. And this is what you only hear something negative about Terence Crawford in the internet. Right? In the internet. When he was supposed to fight Manny Pacquiao, everybody on mainstream TV knew better. We don't want Pacquiao to fight him. He's going to get hurt. You know, the Stephen A. Smiths of the world and the your boy, I forget his name right now, the commentator, the trainer from Mike Tyson back in the day or whatever his name. Well, forget his name. Anyway, you know, Teddy Atlas. Hey, we worried about his well-being. Bob Arum, the trainer of Manny, the promoter of Manny Pacquiao. No, I don't want Manny Pacquiao to get hurt, right? Pacquiao's trainer at the time, right? We don't want him to get hurt. We don't want him to fight Terence Crawford. And Terence was at 140 pounds when Pacquiao was at 147. It's a feather in your cap. You can't even get Manny Pacquiao to get in the ring with you, right? And then you beat all the other welterweights. Then you become undisputed at 147 pounds and 140 pounds. And then want to fight the baddest one at 154 pounds, and he don't want none of you, and that's Jermell Charlo. Right? You know, listen, yes, all he's going to do is fight Canelo. There's nothing else left for the brother to do. You understand? And anybody that's got something is only negative in the internet. Nowhere else. Anybody who's boxed themselves or has something to do with boxing thinks that Terence Crawford is going to be a huge problem for Canelo Alvarez. So either they're both pretty damn good, or one of them's pretty good, and one of them is an all-time great. And that all-time great is Terence Bud Crawford. And you know it. Doma Sports Talk, worldwide. Y'all better recognize. And I'm up out of here.